They say you can't own nature, but trust me, I've seen people try hell. I've seen them lose everything chasing that dream. 60 cabins, a floating restaurant, even a fresh new name for the lake my granddad spent half his life protecting. All courtesy of Clarice Vaughn, a woman who believed her money, her paperwork, and that smile she wore like armor could erase folks like me right out of the story. She had no clue what this place is capable of when it decides enough is enough. You ever watch someone cross a line and think, no way they're getting away with this? I'd actually love to hear your version down in the comments. My name's Roy Callan, and I thought I'd seen every trick in the book on Lake Haven. 15 years managing the dam before retiring, I figured the hard part was behind me. That lake, it wasn't just water and land to me. It was inheritance. My granddad built his log cabin here in the 50s, carved out a slice of peace and called it home. So when I retired, I expected fishing and quiet mornings, not a war. But money doesn't sleep, and it sure doesn't care about your memories. That Tuesday morning started normal enough. I grabbed my tackle box, figured I'd get a jump on the base before the sun got too high. The mist was thick, draped across the lake, and for a second I felt like a kid again. Then I rounded the bend by the old pines and saw something that just about froze the blood in my veins. Construction signs everywhere, big and shiny, Lake Haven, luxury estate 60, rental cabins, grand, opening all the bells and whistles. 60, not 10, not 20, 60, and not just cabins, marina, floating restaurant, event center. I just stared thinking, is this a joke? Someone announcing they're putting a mall in my living room. I stormed straight over to the HOA office, which was nothing but a dressed-up garage. And there she was, Clarice Vaughn, heels sharp as her attitude, typing away like she was conducting an orchestra, barely glancing up when I came in. She finally looks at me with that smile, you know, the type, all teeth, no warmth. Mr. Callan, what can I do for you? You can explain what 60 vacation cabins are doing on my family's lake, I tell her. Didn't even try to hide how mad I was. She slides a folder across her desk, says this lake's about to be the crown jewel of her vacation empire. Tells me I'll either embrace the future or get out of the way. Then, as if I didn't exist, she walks me through how she's been quietly snapping up every inch of shoreline, hiding behind shell companies, Serenity Holdings, Tranquil Waters Development, you name it. All legal. She smirks, the planning board signed off. She slides me a business card, Vaughn Development Group, and something cold settles in my gut. I walked home, saw the lake like it was saying goodbye. Mirror calm water loons, calling a heron standing still in the reeds. Soon all of it would be jet skis, floodlights noise. My granddad used to say, some things are worth fighting for, even if you lose. That's when I stopped at the old dam control shack, dusted off my engineering notes, 15 years of maps, flow, controls, secrets only I knew. Clarice might think she owned this lake, but she had no clue what she was up against. 3 days later, the harassment began. HOA violation notice taped to my door, $500 fine for improper waterfront maintenance because my tackle box didn't fit their new aesthetic. Psychological warfare, pure and simple. Then the neighbors started turning. Mrs. Henderson, who used to bring me banana bread, now speed walks by with her head down. Clarice was spreading poison about my past, said I'd been fired for safety violations. Total nonsense. But it stuck. It was Earl Simmons, 73, and too old for nonsense, who pulled me aside. Roy, they got folks thinking you can't be trusted with a garden hose, much less a dam. That's when I found Logan Pierce, a baby-faced lawyer straight out of school, all fire and ideals. He listened, got mad for me, called it corporate bullying. Earl rallied the old families. Logan built a case. I brought proof the lake couldn't handle her plans. We filed complaints, got signatures, packed the planning board hearing, thought we had a shot. But Clarice strolled in with her army of lawyers and glossy slideshows talking about tax revenue and job creation. And suddenly we were the dinosaurs holding back progress. Vote 5-0. Not even a nod to the fact they were about to ruin a family lake for a quick buck. So legal routes dead, I copied the water pressure logs, pulled out the old storm flow maps, and remembered nature always gets the last word. Earl tagged along, part worried for me, part just stubborn. We found the old hidden control valves, and I adjusted things, nothing destructive, just restoring the natural flow Clarice's construction had blocked. Next morning, her crew showed up to flooded foundation pits. No rain, just groundwater rising up like the earth itself was saying, not today. Clarice doubled down, called in more pumps, more engineers, ignored every warning. Then came the grand opening, news cameras, investors, the works. Local residents staged a boat protest, circling her floating restaurant in their canoes and battered old pontoons while her VIPs sipped champagne and tried to pretend they weren't sinking. Meanwhile, I sat by my old control shack watching storm clouds gather. The forecast was ugly, heavy rain, high winds, classic spring chaos. As the storm hit, I followed standard dam protocols, opened the gates, just like I had for 15 years. Between the rain, the blocked drainage, and her overbuilt foundations, it was chaos platform, listing tables, floating guests, wading through ankle-deep mud, the mayor's wife soaked to the skin, Clarice barking orders with mascara running down her face. It was like the lake was reclaiming itself. Of course, she came after me, security footage, a lawsuit for millions, claims I'd endangered public safety. But Logan dug up the records. Her whole project built on outdated surveys, ignoring the engineering reports I'd filed warning about underground channels and flooding risks. In court, I spoke plain. I followed protocols, did what I'd always done and what my granddad would have done, protect the land, not just the plans. The judge saw through the mess, tossed out the criminal damage case, but Clarice didn't quit. She launched a media attack, dragged up old co-workers to smear my name, called me unstable. Neighbors stopped talking, old friends vanished. I nearly gave up, sat on my porch with a bottle staring at the lake, thinking maybe Clarice was right. Maybe I was just a relic standing in the way, but Earl wasn't having it. He showed up, laid out my old engineering maps, and reminded me this wasn't about me or her. It was about the lake. If Clarice wanted to test the land's patience, maybe it was time to let the land answer. She announced an even bigger expansion, 80 cabins, flood-proof foundations, and another press conference. But she'd never bothered to learn how the water actually moved under her shiny new buildings. I spent a week clearing construction debris, restoring the old channels. As she gave her speech on live TV, the ground shuddered, nothing dramatic, just slow, relentless settling as the earth reclaimed its space. Investors backed out on the spot. Reporters uncovered her lies, the bribes, the environmental corners she cut. The state opened a criminal investigation. Within months, she was bankrupt, facing charges, abandoned by everyone who'd backed her. One dawn, I saw her slipping away, just a regular person, loading boxes, no power, no audience, nothing left to conquer. I didn't even say goodbye. 6 months later, Lake Haven was quiet again. Loons returned, new wetlands grew where cabins had briefly stood, and folks sat on docks, just listening to the water. The town finally declared the lake a protected area, no more development, not in my lifetime. Earl and I share coffee most mornings, watching the mist rise, remembering the fight, and realizing sometimes the land just needs a voice. So let me ask you, have you ever watched a place fight back? If you were in my boots, would you have done anything different? Drop your stories below. Let's talk justice, community, and whether there really is a right way to stand your ground. And hey, if this hit home for you, hit that thanks button or check out the next story. We got plenty more where this came from.